Um, this is lesson 4.2, constant rates of change. And we're going to talk about the constant of proportionality. Oftentimes we abbreviate that COP, C-O-P. Um, and this constant of proportionality, it's the same as the unit rate. So let's write that down. It just has multiple names. Uh, Eventually, when you take algebra, you'll talk about this constant of proportionality, but call it slope. So unit rate, COP, slope, same thing. And we're going to represent it with the variable k. I don't know why it's the letter k, but that's the letter that mathematicians have chosen to represent this constant change. In order to find this constant, we're going to use the formula. It's k equals y over x. And the y and the x we're talking about are the same as just points that you'd graph on a graph, like over the x, up y, whatever. We've got three main ways to look at this constant of proportionality. The first is a table. Then we'll be looking at equations, and then finally graphs. But we're just going to focus on the table part of it for today. So you might have a situation where you have two tables, or a table of values, excuse me, and you want to find if the table has a proportional relationship. And so we're just going to look at each of these like rows going across, and we're going to use our y over x formula, meaning we're just going to take y, 25, divided by 5, and so that's 5. We're going to do that for every value going straight across. Y goes first, 36 divided by 6, that's 6. 49 divided by 7, 7. 64 divided by 8, it's 8. Now, after I do y divided by x for each of the lines in my table, I'm going to look at the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's a pattern. I see a pattern, but I'm looking for every number to be the same number for this to be proportional. So this is an example where it's not proportional. Looking at the next guy, I'm going to do the same thing. And you might have already guessed this is going to be one that does work. And so we'll look at what that looks like. So I'm going to do negative 40 divided by negative 36. I don't care that they're negatives, whatever. That's 1.1. I'm going to do that for every row. Negative 30 divided by negative 27, 1.1. And I know that I've already divided these through on my calculator, but you could totally double check me and type them in on your calculator to make sure that I got the right numbers. So here, every value is the same. It's 1.1 the whole way down. So this does represent a proportional relationship. Okay, we've got 4 more problems to look at. And here, determine the constant of proportionality. So this already is implied that the table's good. It shows a proportional relationship. Now you need to find it. And we're going to do that y over x formula again. And it doesn't matter which row I choose. I can do whatever one I want to. I'm just going to use this first one because it's first. 36 divided by 2, 18. So the constant of proportionality is 18 for this table. And like I said, it doesn't matter if I did 144 over 8 or 252 over 14 or 360 over 20. I'm going to get that 18 every time because that table is proportional. All of that constant matches up for each row across. Looking at the next guy, same thing. So we've got a table that has a proportional relationship. This time, they did not give you the x and the y, but right there it is. We can write it on there. X always goes first, y always goes second when we're looking at tables like this. And all I need to do is just pick any row and do y divided by x to find my constant of proportionality. There's 2 more down here, and they have just a little bit of oddness about them. That's why I wanted to bring it up. So first one, same situation. Here's, my table. I want to find that constant of proportionality, y over x. This is a fraction. That is okay. there it's going to happen. Sometimes the answers will be negative. It's going to happen. So I'm just going to take the time to reduce this to 1/2. I could also do 0.5, and that would be acceptable as well. But I just wanted to point out that you could have fractions as your answer, and you will have them probably about half the time. The next one, another table, we want to find the constant of proportionality. So picking any row, again, just the first one because it's first, y divided by x. 3/2. I can leave this like this. I can turn it into a mixed number if I really want to. There's not necessarily a need to, or I could write it as a fraction. It's all the same thing. I would keep it as the 3/2 just for other things in your future math career. But this is just looking at the constant of proportionality as a table, and we'll look at an equation and a graph coming up next.